Hello. Um, Technically the Digimon in this one is very similar to a bunny that I'm going to be talking about. So I always have bunnies in the background, so that's slightly redundant. Time to talk about Suzie Wong and her partner Lopmon. Suzie is the youngest sibling, the youngest child of the Wong family, of Janyu and Mayumi. Yep. And she is Henry's youngest sibling, his little sister. And so, besides Ai and Mako, she is the youngest of all of the Tamers that we see throughout the course of the third season of the Tamer series. I believe Ai and Mako are just slightly younger than Suzie, but not by much. Or Maki might be the same age. Ai might be the same age, yeah. Give or take. So, let's talk about a small girl whose partner is a Deva. Yeah, that's brought up. Okay, so in context of the series, Suzie is about 7 years old. She's very cheerful and carefree and playful and everything. And she definitely acts her age. She's very loving and everything, but she's a little rough when it comes to how she shows her love, particularly to Terriermon, who admittedly at the time in the beginning of the series, she perceives Terriermon to be a stuffed animal. And she does not realize that he's a living thing, which you'd think the amount of time that she spends like holding him and stuff like that, she would feel like a heartbeat or a pulse or something like that coming from him. I mean, like, Terriermon's pretty good at acting like a stuffed animal, but even he can't stop his own heartbeat and everything. At least I assume Digimon have a heartbeat. I would hope so. So we have that. And she also likes to just straight up dress Terriermon up in like baby clothes or pretty clothes and like call him, call Terriermon Mrs. Pretty Pants. And she pronounces her R's like W's, so Henry is Henwy. That type of a thing, or at least that's the way that it is in the English dub. Yeah, so we get fun stuff there. Her Digimon spends the majority of the time that we see the character as Lopmon, but the in training form is Kokomon. And then we have Lopmon, that is the rookie form. And then we jump straight to the ultimate form, which is Antilamon, who is a Deva. And I'll get into that. I'll get into that later. Antilamon is the rabbit Deva. Antilamon is kind of going to get talked about in two of the videos because she's going to be talked about here. Or Antilamon is going to be talked about here. And then she's also going to I'm definitely going to talk about her when I do the Devas, when I talk about the Digimon Devas down the line. So, into kind of the story that we have with Suzie. So, as I stated before, she's Henry's younger sister. She perceives Terriermon to be this toy. She continuously plays with him a whole lot, is rather rough with him at times. We see that she does, love Terriermon, and she does love Henry very much, and Henry loves her, of course. And I would kind of call her a little bit spoiled, but she's not a brat about it, because her mother will buy her nice clothes for like dress up and stuff like that, but she tries to be very polite to her parents and to her siblings. Admittedly, she will just like literally walk into a room, take Terriermon and walk out. Okay. And so we have those moments that happen. Henry very much, will take care of her and everything. And I think at one point when Calamon was first introduced, or when Henry and Takato first found Calamon, they considered about giving Calamon to Suzie to be Suzie's partner, and that concept didn't seem to fit well. That would have been funny though. So we see that. We see kind of one of the main interactions we have with Suzie and Henry is at one point there's like been these it's after the Devas have started to appear, and they've all been able to digivolve up to their mega forms and such, so Terriermon can turn into Rapidmon. and such. And what ends up happening is there's been like these different earthquakes going around the city, and Henry is going to go out and like try to, you know, see if he can figure up any information about what's going on, because they think that the you know, that the earthquakes are connected to the Devas. And he heads off, and he needs to take Terriermon with him. And Suzie, because of course she's been very scared of the earthquakes, is basically using Terriermon as a security blanket, is, you know, holding him and everything. I perfectly understand how this works. When I was a lot younger, to a degree still now, I live in Nebraska. We live in Tornado Alley. We get tornado warnings that happen. I've gotten a lot better at how I deal with them. But yeah, when I was Suzie's age, whenever we would have tornado warnings, I'm going to be like, no, I'm going to go hide in the bathroom and probably just like shiver and shake while I hold my, you know, stuffed animal and wait for it to end. Where we live is less likely to get hit by tornadoes, but we still get the tornado warnings, and it's still possible. But back to Suzie, and she, you know, she doesn't want to let Terriermon go, and Henry actually kind of ends up getting kind of angry at her, and, you know, kind of yelling at her as he, you know, takes Terriermon away from her. And she goes, I wish you, you know, she starts crying and says, I wish you weren't my brother anymore. You know, and she gets, you know, very upset about that. And Henry feels bad, and he leaves. And then later on in that same episode, or like the next episode or so, when they're dealing with the Boar Deva with by Calamon, we have it that you know, the Tamers are kind of beat down at that point in time, and they each need to find their motivation. And Henry's motivation is wanting to protect Suzie. And so that's because he's upset that he made her cry, and he, you know, he's not happy that that happened. And, you know, he wants to, of course, protect her and such. And, you know, that serves as his motivation for getting, you know, Terriermon up to, you know, for giving them the motivation to keep fighting and such. One of the other things that happens is kind of delving into the movie territory. For the first Digimon movie, for Digimon Battle of Adventures, we do have Suzie pop up in that. She's not there for very long. She kind of serves as like an example of like what's going on out in the real world with like all these little V-pets that are causing a bunch of problems. When I do the review for Digimon Battle of Adventure, I'll go much more into, you know, the plot of the movie. But she's kind of just shown there as kind of like this, you know, showing what's happening in the real world type of a thing. And we see her with her dad, with John Yu and such, at the end of the movie, showing that everything's back to, you know, back to normal. But, you know, Henry, of course, after, you know, Calamon is kidnapped, he tells his, you know, his father and Suzie that, you know, oh, Digimon are real, and Terriermon is real, and I have to go to the digital world to try to save my friend, try to save Calamon. You know, my friends and I are going to do that. And Suzie is just so happy that, like, oh my God, Terriermon is real and everything. And she's just like very, very happy about that. You know, and, you know, Terriermon's like, you know, please don't dress me up anymore type of a thing. And, you know, so Henry heads off, and Suzie is kind of left to her own. I mean, not that she doesn't have another older brother and an older sister that she can spend time with, or spend time with her parents, because she does. Her and her mother get along very well for the most part. And, you know, Suzie is kind of treated a little bit like the princess of the family, so she's just adorable anyway. And one of the things that happens is while they're gone, well, you know, during the time frame that Henry and the rest of the kids are off in the digital world, Suzie, of course, she is getting kind of bored because she doesn't have Henry there, and she doesn't have Terriermon there to play with. And she actually ends up trying to, like, mimic Terriermon, which is funny because she will, you know, she like sits on the couch, like, kind of like not doing anything the way that Terriermon does. She goes like, I'm acting, and, you know, like her, you know, and she like kind of like falls off the couch and like face on the ground, legs still up on the couch and such, you know, the way that Terriermon would do. And like we have this funny scene where like her mother is vacuuming while Suzie is doing this, and she's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm acting." "Well, can you act like you're cleaning your room?" "I am Terriermon." Okay. And what ends up happening is John Yu, her father, decides to take her to the park. And while they're there, we have this cute little monologue from him in regards to her.
So young, so sweet, so totally out of my control. She's becoming more like her mother every day.
And so yeah, this episode is actually just kind of not one of my favorites, but it just has one of my favorite images from Digimon. And I'll talk about this a little bit more when I talk about like Yamaki and John Yu's video, because what happens is Suzie, John Yu and Suzie are at the park, and Susie's just running around having fun, and Yamaki shows up and is like talking to John Yu about the kids are off in the digital world and everything, and they're working on the arc and everything at this point in time. And we have this adorable image that happens where it's John Yu and Yamaki sitting on this bench, and then Suzie sitting between them. And like the two guys are talking about very serious matters, and Suzie is just sitting there, and then she hops up and she's like, "I'm gonna go play in the jungle gym." "Okay, just don't go too far." And she just goes off. And during this time frame, we have a couple of diginomes actually pop up in the real world, and because the diginomes are kind of designed to be able to grant wishes, Suzie very much wants to see Henry and Terriermon, and this digital field starts to appear on the park and everything where Suzie is, and within the digital fog in the field, she sees what looks like Terriermon. And in the digital world, Terriermon actually thinks he hears Suzie. And, she kind of runs up the slide and everything because she wants to see Terriermon again. And I equate that as into also she wants to see her brother again. And, she gets warped in the digital world. For John Yu and Yamaki's part, that John Yu tries to run up the slide to get to Suzie, but he trips, and Yamaki was trying to help too, because Yamaki doesn't want to see another kid disappear into the digital world. So it's just like, okay, Yamaki gets points for at least attempting to protect the small child, and so Suzie just kind of vanishes, and she pops up in the digital world, and while she's there, she gets chased by like one of the Digimon, and eventually she ends up finding her way to this gate of the sovereigns, and she ends up finding Antilomon, the rabbit Deva, who is like the last Deva that we're introduced to. And Suzie shows up there, and she just thinks Antilomon is like this best thing ever type of a thing, because she's just like this, "You're gotta be the biggest bunny I've ever seen," because Suzie really likes bunnies, and Terriermon is kind of like a bunny and everything. It's like, "You gotta be the biggest bunny I've ever seen." And she's just like, "Oh my god, this is so cool." And Antilomon kind of is, tries to get Suzie to go away. She's like, "Hello, small human child. What are you doing here?" It's like, "Well, I was looking for Henry and Terriermon, but I can't find them. But they have to be here." "Am I in the digital world?" "Yes." "Okay, well then they have to be here. Can you help me find them?" And it's just like, small child needs help is like what clicks in Antilomon's mind. And Antilomon, decides to help Suzie. She, picks Suzie up, and it basically results in this fun scene where you have Antilomon putting Suzie on her head, because that's how small Suzie is compared to Antilomon, and Suzie has like her arms wrapped around Antilomon's ears, and Antilomon kind of starts, running around like doing zoomies all over the place, to try to see if she can find Henry and Terriermon. And this results in Suzie is just like, "Oh my god, this is so fun," and I feel like I'm flying, because I'm like, yeah, you're high up, and I don't let go of the giant bunny. And then of course it results in several things where like Antilomon kind of is being still gentle with Suzie, but like flops her ears forward and like catches Suzie in her hands, and Susie's just like, "Oh my god, that was so fun! Do it again." And so we get that, and then there's just other stuff where it's just like, can you do anything else? And Telamon is kind of like, and Telamon is very much this proper, kind of tries to follow the rules, be very respectful type of a thing, and Lopmon has this too, where it's, have to follow the rules type of a thing, and it very much takes things kind of seriously, or more proper, prim, proper, very well mannered type of thing. And what happened is, and Tiamon's like, yeah, I can show you something else. It results in her like, jumping is like what it results in her jumping around, which is just kind of funny, and like Susie's just having a really fun time. And eventually it's like, and Telamon is like laying down on the ground, and like Susie's like laying next to her, because and Telamon is, well, in actuality, and Telamon is pretending to be tired, so that way Suzie will like maybe go off on her own. And Suzie heads off to try to find something for Telamon to eat, because she's like, well, you were really nice and you were helping me try to find Henry and Terriermon, and you played with me, so I'm gonna go see if I can find some food for you to have. And it's not that Suzie doesn't think Telamon can find her own food, but it's like she's trying to be nice and helpful to Telamon after Telamon did help her and play with her. And Telamon gets ready to head back to her duties at guarding the gate. And in this time, what happens, unfortunately, is Makuramon, who's the monkey Deva, shows up and sees Suzie and tries to attack Suzie and everything. Is gonna like try to take her to get punished by Chuchalmon and everything. And during this time frame, Henry and Takato and Terriermon have like showed up in this area because they were like drawn there by like Terriermon hearing Suzie. And Telamon shows up and she starts fighting against Makuramon to protect Suzie, and Henry and Takato witness what's going on, and and Telamon protects Suzie. One of her attacks is bunny blades, where like her arms will like turn into like axes, which I'm like, I approve of this. I very much approve of this. Yes, give the bunny a weapon. I approve. I think Telamon and Carrot and Mirko would all get along very well. I think they would. It's just like, hey, we're all buddies. Yep, okay, let's go hang out. I think they would get along great. There's Sailor Moon in the mix too, because Sailor Moon. But yeah, just like do that. That would be funny. Just like all of them together, that would be hilarious. But and Telamon protects Suzie, and Makuramon runs off and he tells Chuchalmon what's going on, and like Henry and Takato and Terriermon have shown up, and like Henry tries to get Suzie away from Telamon, and Telamon got hurt by Makuramon protecting Suzie, and like Takato and Henry are like confused by this, because it's just like a Deva that was trying to protect Suzie, because like all the Devas that they've dealt with have just continuously caused nothing but problems for them or in the real world and everything. So they're confused by this. And what happens is, Suzie, is like, sad that Lopmon got hurt and everything. And then a Digivice appears out of the sky, manifests. And, it's pink, and it's just, Suzie, and Henry's comment is, Suzie is a tamer to a Deva? That's what we get there, which is just funny. And, this coincides with Chuchalmon kind of, punishing, well, not kind of, straight up punishing Telamon by taking away. Why do I have a feeling he just saw another dog or a rabbit in the backyard? What? What? You're okay. What? 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 Oh, you want me to come see what you found? Okay. I don't know. I didn't see anything. Great, the dog's hallucinating again. Me. Now you're just messing up my light. Hi. You want to say hi to camera? Hi, camera. Ring time. Ring time. Dog treat time. Yes, I know, you're fluffy. And now he's gone. And now he went and hid in the bathroom. Okay. And what ends up happening is, Chuchalmon punishes Antiamon by taking away her power and reduces her to her rookie form, which is Lopmon. And, and she's now Suzie's partner. Which Henry is, because several things happen in major succession at this point in time, because this is also everything happened with Beelzemon showing up at this point in time, and Rika and the others showing back up, and Leomon dying, and Takato corrupt digivolving Gilmon into Megidramon, and then back down, and then into Gallantmon and everything, and all of that stuff happens during this time frame. And Suzie is kind of off to the side. Henry is trying to protect Suzie, of course, during this time frame, and and Lopmon and everything. And after what happens with Beelzemon and Gallantmon and everything, we do get this adorable moment where we have Terriermon and Cocomelon. Terriermon looks like you look like a chocolate version of me, which is just kind of adorable. And what happens is after the battle with Beelzemon, and Tealmon explains to Henry and the others that are just I was the guardian of the South Gate to Chuchalmon's palace, and when we need I know that they were trying to get this this Digimon called Calamon. I saw him come through a few days ago or whatever, and he was taken into the palace, and I can show you how to get there and everything. And during this time frame, Lopmon can take it's Takato, Henry, Rika, and their Digimon are going to take them into where Chuchalmon's palace is what Lopmon's offering to do, because she's kind of I don't want to fight anymore and everything. And she, Lopmon does not want to be, doesn't want to take part in fighting anymore. She just kind of wants to help protect Suzie a little bit. And during this time frame, Lopmon needs to go with them, but Henry doesn't want to bring Suzie with them, because that's taking her into kind of taking her into the bad guy's lair of let's not take the small child that is just got here, and let's not take her into the the den of where the evil giant Firebird lives. That won't go well. And so Suzie is upset because they can't leave Terriermon with her, because Terriermon needs to go with Henry. And then, they need to take Lopmon with them, because, Lopmon has to kind of be their guide, because she can try to talk to Chuchalmon. And, so Suzie is not happy either way, and she's, crying, and she's kind of reminding Henry that she's a tamer as well. And Henry, of course, one of the moments where we get Henry's anger popping through a little bit. And Henry is just, he storms off, and they take Lopmon, and him and Rika and Takato head off. And so Suzie is left with Kazu Kenta, their Gardramon, and then Jerry, who is currently kind of in a, I wouldn't say catatonic state, but she's very much, in her depressed state after what happened with Leomon. Not that I blame her. And, they get into the palace, and Lopmon tries to reason with Chuchalmon and everything, tries to, kind of, prepare, appeal to his better nature on behalf of the Tamers and everything. And, she gets scolded, and he's like, if you, denounce these humans and such, then I will restore your status as a Deva and restore your power and everything, is the promises that he makes her. And she doesn't want that. And, she almost gets attacked at one point, but I believe it's uh, uh, one of the other Digimon does protect her. I don't remember if it's Wargramon or yeah, it's Wargramon that saves her. And during this time frame, because your Digivices can sometimes like sync with your Digimon, and you can kind of see what they're seeing. Suzie kind of sees what looks like Lopmon about to be attacked, and she gets very worried. And she's on the other side of this very long bridge, and her Digivice starts glowing, and she kind of climbs up this part of the archway, and like Garderomon's just watching her this entire time, just like, what are you doing? I'm gonna go help Lopmon. And she like climbs up and like gets kind of flown across by the power of her Digivice, and of course this results in just like Garderomon getting scolded by Kenta, which is just by Kazu, which is just funny. And what ends up happening is they get Suzie shows up, and that gives Henry the motivation to be able to biomerge with Terriermon, and that gives them Mega Gargomon. And Susie's just kind of there. Suzie and Lopmon are kind of just there watching as Henry then fights against Chu Chalmon, and then Takato and Henry fight against Chu Chalmon, and then Azulongmon shows up and calms everything down. And then, of course, she's kind of there just as, as they find out about, like, the D-Reaper and everything. And, Rika, biomerges with Renamon into Sakuyamon. And then, of course, they learn more about the D-Reaper, and Calamon agrees to help the Digimon and, Mega, help all the Digimon get all the way up to their Mega Digivolutions and everything, give them that power and everything. So we have that. And then then it's time to go back to the real world. And like, Lopmon, of course, being her very proper, well-mannered self, like, is like thanking Chu Chalmon for helping them and everything, for like agreeing to help them, even though Chu Chalmon is just like not really doing this by he didn't really agree to this. He's just kind of more like the giant blue dragon, the turtle, and the tiger all agreeing to help you guys. So I can't really, if I go against them, then I'm kind of the odd bird out. So it's kind of the way he's doing it. Like, we have Lopmon, like, being very grateful to him, like, bowing and everything. And Terriermon just pops out and he was like, yeah, thanks, Chooster. Just like, Terriermon. And to show this dynamic, the way that Terriermon and Lopmon are. And so they're all headed back to, where the Ark's going to be. And then, of course, they all get on the Ark, and they're all on their way back to the human world, to the real world, where, of course, they're reunited with, their parents and everything. And, Susie's, Suzie and Henry's parents and, siblings are very happy to see them and everything. And, then we kind of cut to, we find out that, like, Suzie and, her family are, the Wong family are staying with Henry's sensei, who is, his Tai Chi master. And, they stay there with him and everything. And, Suzie is kind of trying to teach Lopmon about, like, how to be in the real world, about how to, how to act in the real world. But, Lopmon just is, like, Susie's trying to get Lopmon to act very childish, like, acting like, I don't want to go to bed, and, like, all this other stuff. And, Suzie is just like, no, that's not the way it works. You're not supposed to want to go to bed, and, like, all this other stuff. And just, messing with Lopmon and everything. And at one point, there is this moment where, the D-Reaper has showed up and is causing trouble and everything. And Suzie is just kind of, she wants to help her friend. She wants to help Henry. And this results in, her and Lopmon go outside, and, like, Lopmon, like, digivolves all the way up to Antilamon, and, like, Susie's sister, one of the other sister comes out, and she's like, so where's Lopmon? She's over there, but she's not Lopmon anymore. She's Antilamon. Sister. Okay. Giant bunny type thing. So we have that, and we have, like, Antilamon goes off, and, like Antilamon, I love Antilamon, because it's, like, it's this concept of, like, this, this, like, Digimon has a lot more maturity than, Suzie in both Lopmon and in Antilamon's case, a lot more maturity and understanding than Suzie does. And, is kind of like having to listen to Suzie because Susie's the tamer. Not that like a Digimon has to follow every single order their tamer gives them, obviously, because that's not the way that it works. Even with the original series, that's not the way that it worked, because there were times where like the Digimon would go against their Digidestin. Happens here too at times. And what ends up happening is, you know, Henry's already kind of gone off to go and work with like Takato and Rika and stuff, and like they kind of see things on the news about this, and that's why, you know, Lopmon and Suzie want to help, and Tealmon is kind of going around, and she kind of ends up acting a little bit like a scout. I think she takes out a couple of like the D Reapers, you know, the smaller agents that are roaming around. But and Tealmon also is like, you know, ends up watching as Beelzebub and Calamon are kind of like, you know, trapped, end up getting sucked into and trapped inside of the Colonel sphere where Jerry is, where they're trying to get to Jerry. And then Suzie and Lopmon kind of inform John Yu about this and everything, about, you know, the fact that, you know, that Terriermon and that Calamon and Beelzebub got sucked into the D Reaper and such, and they're just like, okay, well, you know, we need to figure out, you know, what happened to them and all this other stuff. And during part of that time frame is when Suzie gets her first modify card from Rio, which is adorable. And it's not really like an extremely powerful one, but it is like a good one that would work for Suzie. And then during part of the time frame when they're battling against the D Reaper again, trying to get to where, you know, Beelzebub and Calamon disappeared into, and where, you know, Jerry is. Not the final battle, but kind of like the battle before the final battle. After they can all, you know, biomerge and everything in the real world. You know, and, you know, Lopmon, you know, when they're like watching everything going on, they're like in the headquarters of like Hypno's, you know, temporary headquarters. And she just, you know, ice freezes the window, like has this badass moment of like her standing in the window. So it's like, you know, breaks the window, Yamaki's off to the side. What are you doing in my window? And, you know, Lopmon just stands there, and she's like, I have to, you know, it's my job to like help with all of this, and I have to go help our friends. And she jumps, you know, she like kind of motivational speech to Suzie about, even though Susie's scared, she still has to do what she can because she's a tamer as well. And, you know, she has to take responsibility for the fact that she has this power, you know, kind of the great power comes great responsibility, you know, blah, 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 Spider-Man. Which is true. With great power does come great responsibility. That's not a joke. That's real. And that I think certain people in the world need to pay more attention to. But, you know, so she, you know, kind of motivates Suzie, and, you know, Lopmon jumps out of the window and, you know, Digi-evolves into Tealmon, and we get Suzie. Like, Suzie, for the one time she actually uses a modify card, we see her do, you know, she gets like her own animated, you know, card slashing sequence and everything, that I do like that they threw that in there for her. And, you know, she modifies, and she uses a Radiant Glow, which is just like this helpful card that I guess kind of boosts in Tealmon's defense again, against like the D Reaper. So then, you know, and Tealmon, you know, runs off and everything, and she ends up finding like Kazu and Kenta, who are being like attacked by all these agents, and she like shows up and she just like slaughters all of the D Reaper agents, and we're just like, we were saved by the bunny. Yes. So we get that moment for Tealmon. Getting her awesome badass moment. Again, I think her and Yurko and Carrot would get along wonderfully. And what ends up happening is, kind of during the final battle section, you know, Lopmon appears with like Kazu and Kenta and like their Digimon at the end of the battle, because like, you know, because Lopmon explains to Suzie, she's like, I really want to help, but, you know, we can't biomerge, so I can't really do that much against the D Reaper right now. I wish I was stronger, or, you know, that type of thing, but I'm just not. And although admittedly what Tealmon does Digivolve into is Cherubimon, who is, you know, this mega level, very powerful Digimon. You know, it's basically what you see the Kokomon turn into from Digimon Adventures with Willis. In that movie, you know, all the way up to, you know, the well, it would be the white form, because the other form is the virus type vaccine type. corrupted form, the vice form. But that's what Antilamon would digivolve into, would be Cherubimon, if that happened, or if she could digivolve further. But we don't see that in Tamers. But what ends up happening is, of course, after the battle with the D Reaper, they showed up and they helped get the rest of the Tamers out of the D Reaper and everything. And we have this, we have the moment where it's just they're all standing victorious. They defeated the D Reaper. It's gone. They're in the park. Everybody's happy. And then, as I have stated at the end of every one of these episodes, and then all the Digimon start glowing and shrinking. And Jonyu shows up and Suzie shows up and she gets Lopmon, who has now digivolved into Kokomon at this point in time. And we have Jonyu explains it just it was either the world or the Digimon, and he's very sorry, of course, and all the Tamers are saying goodbye to their Digimon. And again, it's Suzie didn't have Lopmon very long, but she still already loves her. And they all get sucked up back into the portal in the digital world, and Suzie is just crying while Henry's kind of consoling her, just Henry, I want my Terriermon and my Lopmon back, and they're all just very sad, of course. And so we have that moment, and then as I stated before, we do get the moments where it's we know that they do get back to their team, the Digimon do come back. Because at the end of the series, we see that Takato found another portal. And, then, of course, we have the movie Runaway Lopmon, which Suzie isn't this big part of the movie, but we see her at the beginning with Henry and Terriermon and Lopmon, on a train and everything, headed to, where they're going to go. I'm assuming go to Rika's birthday party, because that's where they're all getting ready for anyway. And, so we see them there. And then, of course, when everything starts happening with, Lopmon and the trains get shut down, Henry has to, carry Suzie. And, he has to, leave her to go and, deal with, what's going on with Lopmon. And unfortunately, he ends up taking Lopmon with him, and Terriermon ends up being with Suzie. So it's things got switched. And, so we have that moment. And then, near the end or so, right before the climax, Terriermon and Lopmon get switched back to the way they're supposed to be, where, Lopmon is with Suzie and Terriermon is with Henry. And we have that moment that happens. And, so we have, they're all back to where they're supposed to be. And then Suzie, I wish they had Lopmon digivolve in this movie into Antilamon to help it when they have to fight against all the Parasimon, which would be nice. Show her, kicking some more butt. But maybe they, it's not it takes that long for a Digimon to digivolve. I mean, come on. But we don't have, Antilamon doesn't show up, Lopmon doesn't digivolve when they're being attacked by all of the Parasimon. I think we do see Lopmon get off a couple of her own attacks at the Parasimon, but not enough to cause a huge amount of damage. And Suzie and Lopmon actually end up getting saved by Beelzemon, and his blast mode shows up and destroys them. And then Suzie just runs up and hugs him, and Beelzemon is just how you do it? I'm okay, someone's been watching a few too many Friends episodes there. Beelzemon, you're impersonating Joey a little too much. And then, at the end of the movie, it's, when they're at, Rika's birthday party and everything, Suzie is doing karaoke, and she has Lopmon and Terriermon dancing with her in the background. And then she kind of cheers on when Rika's mom decides to do karaoke, which is funny. So yeah, we don't really get too much that happen, too much additional stuff that happens there. Again, if Suzie had been able to Digimon and Antilamon further, that would have resulted in Cherubimon, but we don't ever see that because Suzie's, I guess, not at that level in regards to being able to biomerge with her Digimon, because I don't know what that implies, how much that, how far in, I guess, development you would have to be for that. But, so we know that they get their Digimon back, which I like. And, Suzie and Suzie and Lopmon are just kind of adorable, and they do kind of these contrasting personalities and such. where Terry or Lopmon is much more calm and down to earth and much more polite and everything. Not that Suzie isn't polite at times, but Suzie is a lot more rambunctious and energetic, and I think Lopmon's kind of there to help balance that out against Suzie. So that's what I have. The next video will be about Kenta and Marine Angemon, and then after that it would be, I believe, then it would be Alice McCoy, and then actually I'll probably end up doing Ai Mako and Impmon after that, and then do Alice McCoy, and then do Mainami. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching. You got a little bit of a dog treat in the middle of the video there when Rini showed up. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.